Hi, my name is Lorena Sadie. I am the founder and managing attorney here at Sadie Law Group. And today I wanted to do a video about income changes in bankruptcy because this is a very common question that I get from potential clients and also current clients. So I wanted to address what happens if your income changes when you're in a Chapter 7 or you're in a Chapter 13. What happens? What do you do? So let's talk about first how income plays a role in your bankruptcy because it's very, very important. Obviously, if you are making a lot of money, then you may not qualify to do a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And also, if you're making a lot of money, you may not be able to be in a 13 without repaying a good portion of your debts back. So what your income is very, very important to how your case plays out. So let's talk about Chapter 7 first. So with a Chapter 7 case, we prepare your schedules, your information, and at the time of filing, we have to list what your income is. So I've had this one come up. Someone will contact us and say, okay, well, I've been unemployed for a year. Been unemployed for a year. So income are hardly, not no income, but maybe they got unemployment, but not a lot to report on Schedule I. So they qualify for a Chapter 7. But then they say, but I'm getting ready to start my new job next week and I'm going to be making $200,000 a year. And they're an individual person. There's no way in Hades they are going to be getting through a Chapter 7 with that kind of income. But they'll say, but I know I'm still going to pass the means test because the 6-month average. I'm like, oh, bless you. You've been going to Google Law. But that doesn't really work because here's the problem. When you file for bankruptcy, a Chapter 7, because we're talking about 7 right now. When you file your Chapter 7 bankruptcy, yes, you're giving a current snapshot. However, your whole case is about a 4-month process from start to finish. So if your income changes and now you're making a lot more money and you can afford to repay your creditors, you're not going to qualify for the Chapter 7 bankruptcy. You need to either let your case dismiss or you can convert it to Chapter 13, where you can you'll repay some of your creditors. And yeah, that can suck because you filed bankruptcy, it's on your credit. It's not going away just because your case, dismisses. So this is something you don't need to be playing games with. Let me put it this way. And you need to be honest and upfront with your attorney because it's funny. I don't think a lot of people understand that when you have your 341 meeting of creditors, and this hearing is mandatory. You're not going to get through your Chapter 7 bankruptcy without it. It's under penalty of perjury, and the trustee is going to ask you, has anything changed? Well, if you don't want to be committing perjury, you need to say, yes, I'm actually working now, and I have a new job. And the trustee will say, okay, where do you work? How much are you making? And you'll, again, it's under penalty of perjury. You'll need to let them know what that is. And you'll tell them, and then probably a week or two later, you're going to get a motion to dismiss your Chapter 7 case for abuse because you do not really qualify for a 7 now because you have the means to repay your creditors. Chapter 7 is reserved for folks that don't. And, it's the law. And, great on you for getting this wonderful job while you're in the middle of your 7, but it's going to blow your 7 up. So just know that. Now, I will say this, it is true, really the only time you're ever going to be asked about your income in a Chapter 7 case is when you're at your 341 meeting of creditors. So, yes, you will, when you file your case and then when you have your hearing, they will ask you about your income. But those are, when you file your case, you're signing it under penalty of perjury. And when you do your 341 meeting of creditors, they're going to ask you, and again, you are sworn in under oath, under penalty of perjury, has anything changed? So you need to be honest and you need to let them know that okay, yeah, this is it. Woo, I got this great job. And, again, I can't counsel people and tell people, hey, I need you to not take that job or I need you to wait until you're done. That's your life, not mine. I most certainly cannot counsel someone to defraud the bankruptcy court. I've worked really hard for my law degree, and I'm most certainly not going to throw it away for some stupidness like that. So, all I can do is tell folks, if you are making this amount of money, then you are not going to qualify. And at the end of the day, that is up to you. If you're, some people are just starting job searches, and I'll have clients and they're, and you can tell like that's a real concern. All I can do is tell them this is what would happen. So understand, if you do have an income change and you're making significantly more money, in the middle of your Chapter 7, it can disqualify you from the Chapter 7. And your choices are going to be, let the case get dismissed. Again, it will still be on your credit report that you filed bankruptcy, or you can at least convert to Chapter 13, repay your creditors, move on with your life, and it looks a lot better on your credit report because at least you've paid off your creditors and you don't have a dismissed bankruptcy on your credit report. But hopefully you don't ever have to come to that bridge. But if you do, that's how you're going to cross it. So anyway, that's a Chapter 7. Now, let's talk about Chapter 13. Because Chapter 13, there's a really good chance your income is going to change when you're in Chapter 13. Let me explain why. First of all, a Chapter 13 case, typically most people choose a 60-month plan. That is 5 years. Lots can happen in 5 years. Now, I'll have clients that'll also call and they're like, well, my income went down, so does that mean I get to lower my payment? Maybe, probably not. Here's why. When you file bankruptcy, you have a minimum payment that you've got to pay in order to keep the things that you want to keep. So there's always going to be this minimum amount. And if your income goes down and you can't afford it, then the trustee will say bye-bye to your case because you can't afford it. You can't pay back that minimum amount. Now, if you are somebody that maybe you were in a 100% plan, meaning you were making really good money when you filed bankruptcy and you could have gotten divorced, that's a biggie. I have clients and now they've lost half their income and they're like, oh man, I lost half my income, and they were paying everybody back, but now they can't, right? Because they don't have that extra income. In that case, we can file something called the plan modification, and we can go to the court and say, our client started out like this because of this income, but you know what? Things have changed. They no longer have that income and we need to lower the payment. We can certainly do that because Chapter 13s are, they are constantly in flux for things like this. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. So as long as you're paying that minimum amount you have to pay, you're good. And if you were someone that was paying more because you were paying all your unsecured creditors back, well, if you have an income decrease, cool. We can decrease it. Maybe you end up in a plan where you're not having to pay any of those folks back, and you have a low payment. So it can work both ways in 13. So that's a nice thing. It can work both ways. Now, every year you are in a bankruptcy case, you are required to submit a copy of your tax return. Obviously, when you submit a copy of your tax return, hopefully no one's fibbing on their tax return, because no one ever fibs on their tax return. You want to make sure that you're getting that to your trustee every year, because that is how they're monitoring what your income is. And if you have a significant change in your income, and when I talk, because clients are like, well, when should, most people get raises, right? It's normal to get like some kind of a raise every year. They're like, well, okay, I need to report that. So most of the time, those kind of cost of living raises kind of go hand in hand with inflation. So that's not something you necessarily need to amend your schedule, your bankruptcy petition over. If you have a significant increase, and what do I mean by significant? If you're making like an extra $500 a month, then we need to file new schedules in your plan, most definitely, and show what your new budget is. So if you're getting that much over a month, we need to reflect it. So yes, while you're in your case, you may need to come back to your bankruptcy attorney and say, hey, I've had this increase, and we need to review it. Please do not. I have had clients who are like, well, I sent you my tax return. Yeah, and I sent it to the trustee because that's what we do. And at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to tell me if you have an increase. I'm not going to go through every line of your tax return and then go back into your petition and see if you're telling me the truth. That's not on me. That's on you. So and again, I know I say this in every video, I'm not an FBI agent. I'm not supposed to be trying to catch my clients doing bad things. That's not my job. So if you think you're cute and slick and you want to try to get by, that's on you. That's not on me. My responsibility as your attorney is you give me your tax return every year. And then I have to keep a copy on file and I have to send a copy to the trustee. And we do that like clockwork. super easy. Got a great team, no problems. But if you have significantly more income that's building, that's on you to tell me. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. We have wonderful trustees here in the Northern District of Georgia. They are great. We really do. We've had some stinkers in the past, but these folks that we have now are really good. They're on it. They're great, but they also have a lot of case files. So don't assume that they're going to be looking every year at the tax return submitted. They may wait. They may wait 2 years. They may wait 3 years to do like a total review of your case. And you know what? Sometimes they don't look at it until the very end of your case. When you pay out your case, your case goes into an audit. Now, an audit, they will then, of course, when you do an audit, you take the time to sit down and look at these tax returns. And this was years ago, but I saw it happen. These folks, they tripled their income and tripled it in like year 3 of their 5-year case. And they had started in a plan where they weren't paying everybody back. They tripled their income. They never reported it. They did submit their tax return. They did that, but they never said, I need to set up an appointment to redo my budget because we're making 3 times the amount of money. And they didn't. But when it got to the end, in the trustee audit, trustee caught it, and the trustee was like, oh, so you know those 2 years that you were making triple the money? All those folks that you didn't pay back, that you should have had to have paid back, you're going to need to get that paid off in the next 6 months or your case gets dismissed. And luckily, they've been stashing that money away, and the trustee was very nice. The trustee was super nice about it. Trustees could be nasty. They could just, they could file a motion to dismiss and have you explain to the judge why you just ignored reporting that. So income changes can definitely affect your case. But with that said, whenever you know that you are going to have, and sometimes it's a temporary income change. You may get sick. You may have to take some time off work. There's ways, as bankruptcy attorneys, we can address this in your case. It's usually through like a motion to suspend, so we can, give you some time to catch up or deal with whatever financial issue you have. But, just let your attorney know. I try to remind my folks about this. We're your attorney. It's what you hired us to do. And even though your case is 5 years, a lot of times, I have some clients, I'll be honest, we do all this, very intense one-on-one work, getting the case approved. And once their case is approved, I'm just checking. I'm checking in with them, and they're checking in once a year because they're good. They didn't have anything come up, and they're fine, and their case gets discharged. That's it. But I have clients too that they're going through things and they don't contact me, and they're like, well, I didn't want to bother you. It's why you retained us. So, that's why we're here. It's what we do all day. And I deal with some pretty crazy situations sometimes. So I can almost promise you your situation is number one. I'm sure I've heard it before. And very, very rarely have I been like completely shocked, like, oh my God, I don't even know what to do with this. I'll be able to counsel you. So just let us know. Tell us what's going on. And if you have some kind of an income fluctuation in a good way or a bad way, let me know. Let us know. Talk to your attorney. If we're not your attorney, talk to your attorney, and we can go over options with you. Because when you do something bad and we're then trying to, we're a janitor trying to clean it up, that's a whole different situation. Not fun for anybody in that situation. But if you are proactive and you let us know about an income change or an upcoming income change, I have one lady and she is just on the ball, and she's like, okay, now I'm going to get this. I've got this really great promotion and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, great. I'm like, have you actually received the money yet? No, I'm not going to get it for 3 months. Okay, cool. When that happens, let me know. We'll file everything. Easy. And in her case, it ended up, even though she got a great promotion, when we did her new budget, it still worked out because her expenses had been super low when she filed. And so we were able to basically stabilize. Her payment stayed the same. It didn't change. So there's a lot of different scenarios that may work out. It's just you need to tell us. So With that said, if you have any questions about bankruptcy, I'm always here to answer them. I'm in the Northern District of Georgia, so that's where I practice. So I can't give legal advice outside of the Northern District, or outside of Georgia, I should say. But if you have any questions, feel free. My information is in the description below.